Hi, in this video, we will take a look at the implementation of ITSM practices, incident management, problem and service configuration management, change enablement, event management, and monitoring. We will also explore some of the useful tools the SimpleOne platform provides. SimpleOne is a platform for automating any processes of any organization. Let's examine the platform structure. The bottom layer contains the basic tools of the low-code platform, such as Visual Workflow Editor, Data Import Mechanism, SLA Control, Business Rules, Form Editor, and so on. The intermediate layer is a set of ESM tools, Configuration Items Database, Service and Product Catalogs, Service Portal, Knowledge Base, Approvals, Contracts, Financial Tools, and much more to create the necessary business applications. The top layer contains the products SimpleOne offers as a vendor: ITSM, ITAM, SDLC, B2B CRM, and others. These business applications use the tools offered by the ESM platform. Thus, the different products are seamlessly integrated with each other. In this video, we will take a look at the ITSM product. It is a system for automating IT processes according to the best practices of service management. Let's start with the Service Portal. This is a versatile digital platform for interaction between an internal or external client and a corporate service provider. For example, interaction within a company is organized as follows. Departments supply their services, and employees, as service users, request these services via the Service Portal. A user query is one of the ways the end user and the support team communicate via the Service Portal. User queries are an important feature of the system because users often cannot categorize their problem, whether it is an incident or a service request. A user query can be created via the self-service portal or from an email. Let's create a user query as an end user. Here we must fill in the mandatory fields and save the form. After the form is saved, we see a notification that our query has been registered. A user query is a temporary entity. Once created, it must be processed by an ITSM agent. Let's start an incident management process. We have opened the agent interface. Let's perform the initial processing of the query as a first-line technician. Let's find the created query and open its record form. Here, we can create an incident from a user query. We must specify the level of impact to complete the prioritization. As we can see, the priority is calculated automatically based on the priority matrix. Next, we need to assign the incident to a support engineer and specify the service our incident is related to. Now the incident is processed. Indicators and indications are used to manage the service delivery level and control SLA compliance. Within the platform, this mechanism functions as a separate service that does not use other platform tools, such as business rules or system events. This approach frees up computational resources for other tasks, which in turn improves performance in case of a large number of indicators. Using the example of an incident that has been processed and is now in progress, let's examine the time indication that was automatically generated and attached to our incident in the time point indications related list. Let's have a look at what this indication consists of. We can see how much working time is spent and how much time remains until the working time expires. Now let's discuss infrastructure incidents. They are different from regular incidents or user requests. An infrastructure incident can be created by the first or second line service agents or by the monitoring system. Let's create an infrastructure incident. Select the Infrastructure Incident checkbox on the incident form. An infrastructure incident can be labeled as a major incident. Check the Major Incident checkbox. The incidents that have the most impact on business processes are classified into a separate category, which is called major incidents. A major incident is one that is of high urgency and has the highest possible impact. It affects the operability of business-critical services and means that a very serious service disruption has occurred and a solution is required immediately. Otherwise, there is a risk of system failure and suspension of operations. When dealing with such an incident, every minute counts. Swarming is a working technique that is used to speed up the solution delivery. Swarming involves the engagement of all possible experts in real time to develop a solution to the problem as quickly as possible. In SimpleOne ITSM, we can start a swarming session right from the major incident form. A Telegram group will be automatically created. We can add participants to the group even if they don't have access to the ITSM system. Let's see how it works. First, we need to set up a swarming session. The instructions are provided in the documentation. We need to perform the setup only once. Next, we need to connect a Telegram bot and establish a connection with the bot router. After all settings are completed and connection with the Telegram bot is established, we can start handling the major incident. Once a major incident record has been saved, a Start Swarming button appears on the form. Let's start the session. Using the modal window that opens, we can add participants. They will get a link to join the Telegram group. By default, the assigned user, service owner, and incident manager are already selected. If necessary, you can delete or add participants. The user who started the session becomes its initiator. After we click the Start Swarming button in the modal window, an invitation to join the group will be sent to all participants by email. Once the page is refreshed, a link to the Telegram group will be available on the incident form above the activity feed. Other stakeholders can join the group via this link, even if they are not SimpleOne users. Meanwhile, a group has been created in Telegram. Here we can see a welcome message that states the purpose of the group. The next message contains information from the fields of the major incident form. In addition to the participants, a router bot has already been added to the group. It will automatically send messages to the group about any important changes that have occurred on the incident form. For example, change of state or responsible user, comments left in work notes in the activity feed. Likewise, messages sent directly to the swarming group in Telegram will be copied to the activity feed on the incident form. Activity Feed with Quick Responses widget is available on the task forms. The activity feed is intended for communication between users, both within the company and with the end users of services. Our incident is being processed, and we as a manager want to analyze the work. Let's use the chronology mode. This is a compact view of the feed where the entries are collapsed by default. We can expand an entry to view its details. In the chronology mode, we can also leave comments, filter activity types, hide unnecessary fields, and sort the entries. Also, we can analyze activity feed in change mode. Then each activity will have its old value and the new value after an arrow. With quick responses, users can process requests and questions from customers, partners, and coworkers faster using ready-to-use response templates. To open the Quick Responses window with a search bar, click the lightning bolt icon. The pre-configured responses are displayed by category. Users, such as technical support staff, can create quick responses that will be available to everyone on the same instance. Note that the quick response template can contain dynamic values that will be replaced with the relevant information, such as the caller's name or email and the related incident number. Quick responses can be added and removed from favorites for easier access. There is a search option for quick responses. All quick responses and quick response categories that match the text we have entered will be listed. Let's take a look at problem management. Based on the incident we have created earlier, let's create a problem to understand its causes. Create a problem directly from the incident form. As we can see, the values in the main fields have been fetched from the incident. Let's clarify the description of our problem. Let's assign the problem to an employee. Let's create a known error from our problem. We have figured out why this problem is occurring. Click Create Known Error. Let's create an entry in the database of known errors and register the workaround in the corresponding mandatory field. Let's take a look at what is going on in our IT infrastructure. To do this, let's open the service model via the form. As we can see, there is a service degradation. The IT service consists of the following components and IT systems, which in turn consist of servers and databases. The databases reside on a database cluster that consists of 2 nodes. Accordingly, we can restore the cluster and put it into the available state. The monitoring system now says that the cluster is available and all services are also available. As you remember, an infrastructure incident can be created by a monitoring system. SimpleOne ITSM implements a page for creating a monitoring source, which simplifies the configuration of the data import mechanism. To begin, we specify the name of the monitoring source. This name will be used to generate an endpoint for receiving post queries. A table for storing converted messages in the system format will be created as well. At step 1, we create attributes for the resulting data structure. We can enter the attribute names one by one, or if the message structure is available as JSON, we can insert it into the corresponding field. All attributes have been created and can be edited or deleted. After creating all the necessary attributes, we must select one or more attributes to generate a composite key. This can be either an attribute with an ID or a combination of several attributes. At step 2, we need to configure the columns for the target table where the converted messages will be stored. We need to select the type, enter a title, and adjust the system name of the column if necessary. Let's open the pre-configured monitoring source where the columns have already been added. At step 3, we need to connect the source attributes with the target table columns to convert the data using the data import mechanism. If necessary, we can add a script to transform one type of data into another. After we click the Finish button, the monitoring source is created and configured according to the data filled in at all steps. A target table for storing messages and an endpoint for receiving messages from the monitoring system are also created. To view the list of received messages, we can go via the navigator to the monitoring messages. Let's open one of the records. Here we can see the columns we have created and the data that were sent in the post query. Analysis of the received messages in the target table is performed according to the monitoring rules. Let's take a look at a monitoring rule. This rule creates an informational event. The event is created or updated only if the message subject contains the authentication failed substring. To view the list of events, we can go via the navigator to the monitoring events. Let's open one of the records. The monitoring event record contains the type, rule, state, and number of messages. When an event is created, the active state and the number of messages is automatically set. The related list shows all messages that have created or updated this event. By clicking on a message, you can go to the message form that contains its data. Events are analyzed using event rules. To set a reaction to an event, we need to create an action for the event rules. This item is also available in the navigator. On the New Event Action form, we need to specify the action name and select the event rule that will trigger this action. Since multiple actions can be specified for one event rule, the order of their execution is determined by the order field. There are 3 action options available: create a new record, update an existing record, and run a client script. We can deactivate the action if it is not needed. Now let's take a look at the service request management practices. A service request can be created via the agent interface or from a user query. End users also submit service requests through the service catalog in the service portal. As an end user, let's submit a service request. For example, we need to order an additional monitor. Now we are in the agent interface to process the request. We can see the static user information widget on the form. It displays basic information about the caller: first name, last name, position, company, manager, time zone, and working hours. You can also see the choice timeline widget. It shows when and for how long the task has been in different states, determined by the options of a specific choice column. SimpleOne also provides several composite widgets for displaying read-only information. One of them is the Static Task Information widget. This widget retrieves information from the current record. It displays the state, priority, and fields with available information. You can customize the fields to be displayed and their position using the Form View customization. Now let's take a look at the change enablement practice based on the SimpleOne ITSM business solution. Change requests come in various risk levels. A risk is a possible event that can cause damage, losses, or make it difficult to achieve objectives. Risks in SimpleOne ITSM are calculated based on a risk matrix, which considers the probability of a negative event and the severity of its negative impact. Let's take a look at a low-risk change request. You see that the impact and probability are low. The resulting risk on the matrix was calculated as low because we have made similar changes before. This means that the level of complexity of approval in the change authority field is local authorization, which allows us to start implementing this change immediately, without waiting for additional approval and without bureaucratic delays. There may also be other authorization options depending on the risk level. Let's look at another change. For example, moving the company's office to a new location. This change is already very high risk because we have specified the probability of a negative development of events as high. We have not made such a change before. The impact will also be maximized. We can see how the risk has been calculated for the company in the matrix. Another matrix also shows that the priority was calculated as critical. The business criticality of the IT service to be changed also affects the risk calculation. Some services can be more critical for the company's operation than others. This is defined by the business criticality attribute within the IT service. In this case, the criticality of the service is high. The risk is calculated to be as high as possible. The level of approval will also correspond to the maximum risk. An extended change advisory board will be automatically created, which means that approval tasks will be created for all committee members. To get authorization, that is approval, for this change, let's set our change record to the authorization state. It is necessary to authorize this change. To prepare the change for approval, we must prepare an execution plan and determine the dates and times according to the schedule. Then the change will be approved according to the calculated change authority level. Change advisory board members will need to vote on their approval task. Let's schedule new changes using the change planning widget, which is used when working with change requests in the ITSM solution. Let's look at the filled out plan. You see the phases of change tasks as well as the tab with canceled tasks. Now let's add a new task. Let's go to Phase 4 and click the Add Task button. A modal window for creating a new change task appears. Let's specify the subject. Let's also assign a user and let's specify the planned start and end date and time. Now we can save the form. Click the Save button. Our task has been saved in Phase 4. If we realize that the task was created in the wrong phase, we can move it by selecting the required phase. Click on the menu next to the task and click the Move button. Now let's add the task to the chain. Click on the menu and choose Add to Chain. Let's specify the previous and the next tasks and apply the settings. Click the Apply button. We can see an indication of the number of tasks in the chain. We can also move the chain by selecting the required phase by clicking on the arrow button. We can also cancel a task. Click on the menu, select Cancel Task. We see a notification that the task has been successfully canceled. Let's go to the Canceled tab. The task state has changed to Canceled. Here we can also restore the task by selecting the required phase. Click on the Restore Task button. We see that the task has been successfully moved to Phase 1. Let's make sure of it. Indeed, the task has been moved to Phase 1. Let's view the task description. Risk management is an essential part of change enablement. The Change Schedule Planner helps to mitigate some of the risks related to implementing several changes at the same time by rescheduling them. This is the general change schedule. Here we see a specific customizable time period and the changes planned for that period. We can move along the scale to see the duration of changes. The change schedule has two display options. By pressing the Day button, we can see what is happening during the day by hours. We can click the Week button to see the changes planned for the week. Let's take a look at the scheduler in a change card. The scheduler can be used to check the desired change implementation timeframe for overlaps. If we go to the change schedule, we can see all the changes that overlap with other activities within the company. The overlaps are highlighted. These changes can affect each other. Therefore, it is a good practice to avoid making multiple changes within the same time period. In addition to the visual scheduler, the ITSM system automatically collects potential collisions and displays a hint. This means that the overlaps are visible not only in the calendar, but also in the change card itself. If we look at the active approvals related list, we can see that several approval cards have been created. These are the stakeholders who must authorize the changes because the risk is very high. Here are the change managers, relevant service owners, related configuration item owners, managers responsible for the change, process manager, etc. All of them can be configured and assigned roles in the system. To authorize changes, each of these employees needs to approve or reject the change in their approval cards. As we can see, it is possible to establish an adaptive and flexible approach depending on the risk. If the risk is low, the approval is not required and the changes can be implemented immediately. However, as the risk gets higher, the level and complexity of approval increases accordingly. Now let's create a change announcement. Click Create Announcement. The fields are filled with the values from the change request. To send the notification, we need to select the Via Portal checkbox, set the published state, and save the record. Now we can see the published announcement on the service portal. Now let's take a look at Service Portfolio Management. This is a section called Service Catalog that contains active services that are available to the end users. For simplicity, the service entity in the system is a configuration item of the corresponding IT service class. Services are used in knowledge management to categorize knowledge base articles. Knowledge base articles can be related to external and internal specifications within a particular service. Let's look at the Workplace service. We see the service specification. These articles are available on the self-service portal. Let's take a look at the main tools of the SimpleOne platform. These tools save the user's time and make the platform more convenient for everyday work. In SimpleOne, a list displays a set of table records. For convenience, users can customize their list views. This makes the system flexible and able to meet the needs of employees with different sets of responsibilities. Let's impersonate a user and open the list personalization form. One list can have several views. We can choose the view in the View Name field. Let's customize the default view. The selected box contains the columns that the user sees on the list. The available box contains other columns that can be displayed on the view. Let's add and remove some columns and rearrange them as required. Then we click Save and return to the list. We see that the changes are displayed in the list view. Often it is helpful to create a visual representation of information for easier data analysis. SimpleOne platform gives you this possibility. We can build graphic reports such as pie or bar chart. As an example, let's assume we are acting as an incident manager. Let's find out which services most of the incidents belong to. We can see the current list of incidents. In order to evaluate the distribution of incidents by service, let's build a graphic report of the pie chart type by the corresponding field. In the report, we can see the current distribution of incidents by service. We can filter the information obtained in the report by one of the field values directly from the report view. To do this, we can simply click the report segment that represents the service we want to examine. Let's make sure that all incidents are automatically filtered by the Access to Network Resources service. We can filter and display the required data with the Condition Builder. To do this, let's go to the list. Let's enter our conditions. Select the field, then in the drop-down list of the operator, select the option and choose the value. The condition can be augmented using AND and OR operators. We can sort and group the list. Let's sort the records by their creation date in descending order. We can add grouping in the same way. Let's group the records by field. As we build filter conditions, a sequence of conditions called breadcrumbs appears above the list. With breadcrumbs, we can read the conditions when the condition builder is collapsed, add conditions to the navigator's favorites via drag and drop, reset one of the conditions by clicking on the separator before the condition, or go to the previous filtering stages. Thank you for your attention. See you again.